All right, good evening, everyone. Apologies for the delay. We were making sure we had all our paperwork in order. The time is now 7:03 p.m., and today's date is Monday, September 15th, 2025, and we're here for our regular scheduled Town Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, we have a very, very special first item on the agenda this evening, and that is a proclamation honoring our library director, Patty Arkwright. And I will read exactly as it is written. Whereas Patty Arkwright will retire as director of the Maury Luntjens Memorial Library, Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, on September 26, 2025, after over 35 years of service for the town. Whereas Patty Arkwright began her career with the Maury Luntjens Memorial Library as a children's librarian on September 6, 1990. Whereas Patty Arkwright was hired first as a children's librarian, serving in that capacity for 17 years, after which she was appointed as library director in 2007, and has remained in that position for 18 years. Whereas in cooperation with the Maury Luntjens Memorial Library Board of Trustees, from the initial plans for moving the location to create a state-of-the-art library 12 years ago, Patty Arkwright has provided guidance, leadership, and many, many hours of her own time to ensure that the new library opened in January of 2024 would be a dazzling success. Whereas Patty Arkwright has been responsible for staff leadership, library administration, and operation of all aspects of the Maury Luntjens Memorial Library, from maintaining an aging building to managing a larger, modernized space that now provides the residents of Narragansett in the state of Rhode Island, along with thousands of annual visitors, with not just books, but historical documents, a children's space to play, learn, and read, a highly successful maker's space room where creative ideas become reality, and multiple areas for meetings, presentations, and movies, sometimes all in the same day. And whereas Patty Arkwright provided oversight and assistance during the recreation of the library in its new home while maintaining the high standards for which the Maury Luntjens Memorial Library is known across the state. Whereas Patty Arkwright has served on numerous OLIS and state boards and committees throughout the state, including the Steering Committee, the Directors Committee, and the Small Libraries Committee during her tenure. Whereas with the love and generous support of her husband and children throughout all of the 35 years, but especially during the move to the new library, Patty Arkwright has been a powerful influence for learning, creating community activities with the Friends of the Library, including the annual Halloween Festival and Parade and the Stone Soup Luncheon food raiser for the St. Peter's by the Sea Community Market. Now, therefore, all our citizens join with us in extending to Patty Arkwright our deep appreciation for her distinguished service and our best wishes for continued success in all of her future endeavors, adopted this 15th day of September 2025. Please join me in, if you're able to please stand and give her a round of applause. Thank you. I'll allow the town council to say a few words if they would like to.
Patty, I just want to say thank you to you. You've done amazing service. It's a great new library. It's just an amazing thing. I've fought with the town for that library, and I appreciate all you did.
Anyone else?
Patty, it was always a pleasure to walk into the library for over the last 30 years, the previous library and now the new library. It was always nice to see your smiling face and your helpful attitude. Good luck.
Patty, I'd just like to say thank you. I know how hard the job is, but you always felt welcomed when you walked in, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. So thank you for all you did.
Thank you for your years of service. I have very fond memories of attending programs at the library when I was younger and studying there in middle school and high school. So thank you and congratulations.
And just to echo the sentiments, really heartfelt and sincere congratulations on your many years of service and dedication to the town. We will miss you. We will feel that loss, but we know that you won't be too far. So best of luck on your next endeavors. Congratulations. Thank you. And now we're on to the town manager's update. However, before we go, if anyone would like to depart, you are welcome to do so during this time. I'll give a brief minute or so recess. Thank you.
Good. No, that was good.
That was my hair. All right. They did that as if they were so prepared and well organized. That was impressive. All right, next is the town manager's update. Jim?
Good evening, members of the council, those who are watching from home, and those who are here this evening. A few items to update. If you notice the Sprague Park Tennis Court, we had a benefactor who has offered to refurbish it. The refinishing is complete except for a few minor details, and the next step is the fencing around the facility, and it really looks great. And once it's fully completed, we'll have some more information for everyone. Boone Street, the Leroy Thompson Memorial Park. The new scoreboard has been installed at the Boone Street basketball court. Baha Mohamed, who's the owner of Gansett Wraps, donated it to the town, and we appreciate that kind donation. It looks beautiful up there. I believe the last one was donated by Jim Durkin many years ago, wasn't it? Yeah. Sunset Farm Trail. The trail is in good shape, and it will be mowed again prior to the Gansett Days Walk, which is scheduled for Saturday, September 20th at 10 a.m. Narragansett Schools. Narragansett teacher Sally Dooley has been selected as 2026 State Teacher of the Year, and they will be honoring her tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock at the high school, and we wish our sincere congratulations to Sally. You'll notice that RIDOT has begun striping portions of Boston Neck Road. This is a component of the bike path, and they're not completed with it yet, but they continue to paint that striping. And I will address the wastewater treatment facility at this juncture. As you know, we've been having problems with odor emanating from the plant. Of course, it even was a little bit worse or aggravated today due to seaweed and some issues at the edge of the ocean. But the fact remains that the majority of the odor was emanating from the plant. The town had begun working on an improvement, been working on an improvement plan basically since 2007. The town has invested $5,365,000 in capital projects since 2007. And when Superintendent Goodinson took over back in 2019, we've done $2,265,000 worth of those. And scheduled currently for future capital improvement is nearly $12 million between 2026 and 2031. However, that capital improvement, those capital improvement projects will not be the same once we receive the facilities maintenance plan approval from Rhode Island DEM. They'll be adjusted to reflect what's in that approval. I met with Superintendent Goodinson and our town engineer repeatedly, and I'm on the phone with them or visiting the site since we've had the problems. And I've authorized the purchase of these odor cannon units. If they're leased for the months of the summer, it would be approximately $10,000. Before the summer months, when we have the issues mainly from July to the end of September. However, it's not going to fix the processing issue we have. It's an old plant, and it needs replacement. Additionally, he's looked into the odor monitoring systems for hydrogen sulfide analyzer, and the cost of those are about $28,000. We do think the odor issue should resolve itself by the end of the month, but again, it does not fix the problem of the processing. It's just overwhelmed, and this will help mitigate the odors. And I understand, as does the council, that the neighbors deserve that, and trust me, we are working on it. They've increased the odor mitigation chemicals into the plant, and they're going to continue to keep doing it. And Superintendent Goodinson is looking into obtaining the odor cannon units, but these take a while to obtain. By the time we obtain them, we believe the odor will have subsided for the winter months. Additionally, a few questions were asked by members of the council regarding the change in operations at the plant back in, I think the installation was in 2019. That was a design that was proposed by an engineering firm to then Jeff Cesarine, the town's engineer, which the council approved, to change from the paddles to the air blowers, as we call them, that are in place now. And that was done in 2019. It was approved by the council in 2018. And some of the discussion will happen later this evening is an agenda item from Mr. Durkin regarding placing covering over the facilities, which was recommended in a 2007 facilities maintenance plan. However, although we were unable to determine why it was chosen not to do, we can only assume that the problem really didn't exist back then, and it's only come to a head recently, and that is one of the reasons Mr. Durkin has put that on the agenda for this evening. A summary timeline for our improvements for the wastewater treatment plant. In February 22, we began working aggressively with DEM and Rhode Island Commerce on project funding. In October of 22, the grant was finally submitted after working with them extensively. In January 23, the grant was awarded, and the RFP was issued in April of 23, and the consultant has been working on the project since June of 23, and it's ongoing. That report is now in the hands of DEM for final approval, and that will definitely involve the voters and the council once we receive that. I think the initial questions that were asked have been addressed, but if the council has any others, I'll be glad to answer them.
Does anyone on the council have any questions or comments? Jason?
I just wanted to, I'm going to go back to some of the positive things that you were talking about, which is the playgrounds and the Sprague Park. I looked at it today. It looks fantastic. I think it's fantastic that we have all these donations coming in to revitalize these parks. It's an amazing thing that I think is happening, and I'm super proud that it's happening. I know that we're going to work on more of that, and I'm looking forward to the future of our parks and playgrounds. So I want to thank you for that.
I just want to follow up on what Jason mentioned. I think it would be nice to, I think this is the second time, I could be wrong, but I think this is the second time that somebody went in and spent some money at Sprague Park tennis courts, just as a private citizen. And, you know, I feel that we have people in this town with substantial resources, and sometimes they just don't know how to go about expending them. And they have certain sports that they, you know, or things that they like to do through their life that they want to keep intact and donate the money. So I don't know if it would be nice to like, and some of those people don't want to be recognized at all. They want to be, you know, quiet about it. So I think it's something that we should do as a town to just like make it, because people have actually come to me before and said, I just don't, I don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's pretty easy to do, but they don't want to be, they don't want a complicated process, you know? And it seems like we've cut through that in the last couple, you know, improvements that
Yes.
we've done with the help of staff and, you know, just consideration of the simplicity of how private enterprise can do things, you know? But if we could somehow advertise what has been done over the years by people who, you know, just, I don't know, you know what I'm getting at? I'm just,
I do, and for the record, whenever we have a benefactor that does something, we wait for the project to be completed, and then we identify, if they choose to be identified. Some, as you say, do not.
Right.
And then we make sure that we get a full notice of thanks out to them, and we're open to publicly thank them if they choose. Some do not, but we do ask them, and some say, no, I don't want any recognition.
yeah.
But I see your point.
Yeah, I just think even more than that, just to make sure they know that they can do it and be thanked, do it and not be thanked, and it'll just, you know, tell them we have more places that can be improved, I guess, you know. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
Jim, just given the immediacy of the sewer treatment plant issue, do we have an estimated timeline on when permitting might come back from DEM?
We expect it in October, and if I could follow up on the wastewater treatment plant. The reason we had stated repeatedly, because it was the truth, the increased influent that comes in, it usually starts rolling in around the 4th of July. And then we say past Labor Day. But what happens is the large increase in the influent that sits in the tanks, it takes a while. It slows the whole process down. So it's already getting better, but we don't anticipate it to be back to a regular, smooth operation until, you know, the end of September. So that, you know, it sits there. It doesn't just, Labor Day, it just doesn't go away. It's still processing and trying to process it and get it out clean. And we haven't been releasing anything out to the ocean that's toxic. It's just a very slow process when it's overwhelmed like it is.
And is this unique to this year?
No, we've had, it's happened in the past. Yeah, this seems like one of the worst, though, I have to admit. I mean, it's not uncommon for wastewater treatment plants all over the state. They have issues. Ours is a unique system. The oxidizing system is an old system. It moves slower, and it cannot handle the capacity that's coming in those summer months right now. But rest assured, we hear the hue and cry from the neighbors. We understand it. I mean, I go down there every day. Scott works down there every day. And I can tell you he's a man that's incredibly passionate about his job. And he's very upset that it can't move any faster. It just can't. There's nothing we can do about it. Like I said, we've added additional deodorizing agents to it. And the cool air does help. The cool air and some of the moisture helps, but it hasn't gotten there yet. But we will be moving forward on a regular basis until this is resolved, because it will most likely come back next July if we don't do anything.
So I just, you touched on the time, Alex, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I think
yeah.
Donna was going to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you touched on the timeline, so I'm just going to actually touch on that. So that timeline, we have like an enormous amount of information to review, to like try to review and try to make heads and tails of it as council people, and we're not engineers. But like I don't know, that facilities report, I think 2007, I think it's 500 pages or something like that, you know. I asked somebody
a
to
lot.
print it out. They said, you really want me to print that out, Jim? And I'm like, oh. So, you know, I think the timeline is important, and this is for both plants, you know, the regional plant and the South End wastewater treatment plant, that will survive our existence here, and, you know, whoever is involved, the facilities managers, because things get lost in history. And, you know, I think that it's really important that we, you know, you started that timeline, you know, I reviewed that with you today, but, you know, for a person who's not an expert in that kind of process, I think that the timeline from the beginning, like when I think sewers went into Scarborough in the 50s or something, like maybe even the 40s, and what happened and how it evolved to where it is now. Because when I read those reports, it appears that that plant is built to take care of the whole south end of Narragansett. So maybe it's just a flock of tourists that come in for the time period that's in the summer that creates the thing. But I mean, we don't even have like Great Island, Harbor Island, Baltimore Avenue. We don't even have those areas hooked up yet, you know? So I can't imagine them building something that didn't, you know, so there's gonna be a little bit more to it, you know? But anyway, it'd be nice to have a really nice detailed timeline that'll pass on, you know, because it's so confusing what's happened there, you know?
We can do that.
Thanks.
But the South Kingston, the regional plant, is a completely different operating
Oh, yeah.
system than ours, as you know.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
And I know you went out with Donna and I and John, but if anyone else who wants to go out there and take a look at the town plant, we can get you out there anytime. Just reach out to
Yeah, I think
to
I
Patty.
requested that we could go out as a council. I don't know if that's possible.
I think in order for us to do that as a council, we'd have to publicly share that and vote on that as an item, or just be able to
Yeah.
share that publicly. But at the very least, I applaud both of you for taking the initiative to do that tour plant, and as I will, as myself, and I encourage the rest of the council to do that, visit the plant as well, because I think it's very important for us to really get out there to understand the level of impact here. And
I was
know you've been
just,
asking
no, that's
questions.
okay. No, I just wanted to mention that, yes, we were there for an hour and a half at the plant, and I just wanted to thank the engineer and thank the plant manager. And, you know, you can see that they were very concerned and that they were trying really hard to try to figure out what's going on. And so, and Jim, I want to thank you for always being available to answer questions. So I know you guys have been on top of it, and I want to thank you for that. And so I just hope people understand that it's something that is being dealt with at every day. It's a top priority for this council and for staff to get everything settled. So thank you.
Thank you.
And to hear that, you know, this has been part of the improvement plan since 2007, and that we have it budgeted in the capital to address some of these issues. I think we'll probably just be continuing to ask for updated reports, as you've been very diligently providing the council every week. Just any ways on in which we can address the odor problem. It sounds like that's being addressed, and ways in which we can further improve our infrastructure there. So really appreciate the feedback that you have provided us, and we'll continue to be asking you questions. Does anyone else have any other questions before I go to minutes?
I just wanted to say that I probably should have saved the positive playground talk until after this conversation.
That's all right. Thank you. On to approval of minutes. We're going to vote on these individually because not all council members were present at each of these individually. So first is item B1. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 5th, 2025 regular meeting?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to item B2. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the July 21st, 2025 regular meeting?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will abstain from this as I was absent from this meeting, so motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. Item B3, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the July 21st, 2025 executive session?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will abstain as well, as I was absent from this executive session on the same date. Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. On to item B4, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the August 4th, 2025 executive session?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain. I was not present.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. On to item B5. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2025 executive session?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to the open forum public comment portion of our meeting. The comments of citizens addressing the council are neither adopted nor endorsed by the body, but heard as requested. Public comment will not be taken on matters involving open litigation. And then I will turn to Jim to see if anyone has signed up first. And when you come up to the podium, please state your name and address, and please speak on topics not on the agenda. 3 minutes will be allocated per speaker, and please be orderly and respectful.
The first one signed up is Arpan Utkarsh Singh. Right up.
Arpan Utkarsh Singh, and I'm from the University of Rhode Island. Good evening, Honorable Town Council members, dear Narragansett residents, and other respected dignitaries present here tonight. My name, as I said, is Arpan Utkarsh Singh, and I stand in front of you to introduce myself as the External Affairs Chairman for the University of Rhode Island Student Senate. In my role as the External Affairs Chairman, I serve as a liaison between the student body and the surrounding community. My mission is to encourage open communication, mutual understanding, and meaningful collaboration between students and residents. Though I'm an international student, Narragansett truly feels like home to me. From beautiful coastline to the yummy clam chowder, I felt welcomed here in a way that I will always appreciate. I'm proud to stand before you tonight, not only as a representative of the student body, but also as someone who deeply admires this town and the relationship it shares with URI. I recognize that the presence of a major university brings both energy and complexity to a town like Narragansett. My goal is to help ensure that students contribute positively, not just as temporary residents, but as respectful neighbors, volunteers, and engaged community members. I hope to be a reliable point of contact for this council and for community members who want to work with the student body, share concerns, or explore partnerships, whether it's promoting civic engagement, addressing community issues, or simply building better understanding. I'm here to listen and to act. I'd like to highlight this line. I'm here to listen and I'm here to act. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to introduce myself. I look forward to working with you and continuing to make the ecosystem we share a place where we all can thrive as a community. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to the collaboration as well. Thank you for being here this evening.
Next person is John Haney. Is it That's H-A-N-E-Y.
I think it's Hanley.
You left a letter out, didn't you?
Did I? That was very nice. Thank you, sir. All right. John Hanley, 10 Wilderness Drive. President Menzies, quoting your social media post of September 7th or thereabouts, the accusations being made against us individually are not only false, they are deeply troubling and represent a misuse of the recall process. Recalls are a serious democratic tool meant for cases of misconduct or failure of duty. Well, I would argue that it is misconduct. After less than 1 month in office, you, the whole council, have a backroom meeting where you decide not to enforce a lawful ordinance and then try to hide that decision from the public. I would argue that it is your duty to uphold all of the town ordinances, including the 3 student ordinance. You may want to revisit that oath of office you all took last November. Clearly, you have failed in your duty. Trying to absolve yourselves because of a potential lawsuit or hiding behind executive session are not acceptable excuses to me. Those discussions should have been in the public eye. In fact, you're getting sued now anyway for not enforcing it. You and others have also argued that the present recall is a misuse of the recall process. I guess you believe the recall process was not meant to overturn unpopular decisions. Let me take you back to last year's election. Do you actually believe that the ordinance allowing voting after 30 days residence was meant to allow a large transient population to help sway an election or control the town's government? I don't believe anyone does, not you or your lawyers. But that didn't stop your cronies from supplying incoming students with cards printed with names they did not even know, but were told to vote for them. They had no background on town issues, no idea who the candidates even were or what they stood for. Was it legal? Yes. So, is the recall provision meant to overturn unpopular decisions? I don't really know. Is it legal? Absolutely. As for the 3 student debate, let me be clear, and I've said this many times, this is not a student versus resident issue as the greedy out-of-town landlords are portraying it. They're trying very hard to get the students energized. It is about balance in the neighborhoods and the quality of life for residents. And finally, I'd like to say to the public to consider this as you make your recall decision. Don't listen to what they say, look at what they have done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Dwyer.
Good evening. My name is Jack Dwyer. I reside at 36 Thayer Avenue in Narragansett. By the way, I'm on septic. I abut the wastewater treatment plant, the Westmoreland plant. To restate an issue the council is well aware of, the regional wastewater treatment facility located on Westmoreland Street continues to emit offending odors. This year has been much worse than prior years, and residents living all along South Pier Road and adjacent streets are now being impacted by this public nuisance. When the winds are easterly, even businesses on Point Judith Road have been impacted, Mariner Square, etc. According to Rule 9 of the Rhode Island DEM, Rules and Regulations for the Operation and Maintenance of Waste Treatment Facilities, and I quote, wastewater treatment facilities must not emit any air contaminant, combination, or contaminants that cause an objectionable odor beyond the facility's property line. I don't know whether the council's familiar with that regulation, but it's been acted and it's been in place for quite some time. I have to assume that the Rhode Island DEP, in adopting this language, I have to assume that Rhode Island DEP did so with input from engineering experts who opine that the odors from a well-run waste treatment facility should not generate foul odors which impact the surrounding community. To my knowledge, Rhode Island DEM has never taken any action or enforcement actions against the Westmoreland facility, despite their being well aware of the long history of complaints about the smell. In this regard, I believe that Terrence Gray, the director of DEM, needs to be held accountable. I realize the town of Narragansett does not operate the Westmoreland Street facility. South Kingston does. This leads me to question whether we have a seat at the table when it comes to the operation of this facility. Further, what obligation does the town of Narragansett have to protect the residents of this public nuisance, against this public nuisance, rather? Stating the obvious, the residents of South Kingston are not being adversely impacted by this severe quality of life issue. Narragansett residents are. Now, in defense of the operators of the regional plant, they do attempt to address complaints by adding deodorizing agents to tanks, the effects of which may last a day. This reactive effort equates to applying a Band-Aid to address a problem when, in fact, a tourniquet is required. Ultimately, we know that, like the wastewater treatment plant Narragansett operates at the south end of town, a major overhaul of the antiquated facility is in order. This will take years to plan and obtain funding for. In the interim, control systems, such as carbon scrubbers, biofilters, can capture and neutralize odors. It's standard practice these days to cap tanks, enclose headworks, and employ advanced aeration systems. Deploying these measures will help mitigate the problem short-term within the existing facility, and we should be insisting on these measures.
Thank you. We have to limit it to 3 minutes.
Okay. Finally, given this major quality of life issue and the infrastructure constraints, I urge the council to be realistic when it comes to considering zoning changes and other actions which will only make the situation worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cliff Tyler.
Cliff Tyler, 30 Lambert Street. I'm also the Vice Chair of the Narragansett Affordable Housing Trust Collaborative. Good evening, honorable Town Council members. On behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust Collaborative, we'd like to thank and to compliment the Town Council for the extremely productive work session that we held last week to discuss the usage of the affordable housing bond that was passed by the voters last year. Since the approval of this bond, our committee has been working very diligently in identifying and defining potential uses of the funds for the bond. And through our collaborative discussions with the Town Council, we have made some tremendous progress. Our committee, I think we've identified 3 or so programs as part of phase 1 usage of the bond funds. And our committee is diligently working at finalizing these programs, and we hope and expect to be able to present them to the council before the end of this calendar year for your review and potential approval. So again, thank you for your partnership in helping address the need of affordable housing here in the town of Narragansett, and we look forward to our ongoing dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harry Schofield.
Harry Schofield, 9 Atlantic. So on October 24th, on October 24th, in a phone conversation, responding to a phone conversation, I sent Councilwoman Vignali a letter outlining housing statistics in the Crane report, plus some recent real estate statistics that contradict the proposed zoning amendments you are attempting to bring back one by one. Rather than respond to the points of my letter, she chose to criticize my mindset because I stated that these proposed zoning changes were created to represent special interests instead of resident interests. But my question was a simple one. Why did she promote such sweeping changes to zoning regulations she admitted never having read at that time? Her answer to me was that the solicitor made her do it. The solicitor is right there. Solicitors don't set policy, they'll tell you that. You do. So that was a cop-out. That's the first thing. At the September 8th workshop, Council President Mendes says the former solicitor, Mark Davis, recommended the council not enforce the 3-student ordinance. That's not true either. Solicitor Davis said, if you want to avoid litigation, don't enforce ordinances. That's different. He didn't comment on the enforceability of the ordinance. And 3 students is a lot more clearly definable than unrelated. At that same workshop, Mr. Brady repeatedly corrected your misconceptions between the state's no less than 1 per bedroom with a max of 5 unrelateds versus the town's 1 per bedroom with a max of 5. You don't even understand that. Tom Callahan referenced the Crane report statement that, as I pointed out many times, says that without the building of more housing for at least 2,000 students, it's the only way to appreciably improve housing availability and affordability. And sadly, at that workshop, Council President Mendy several times expressed concerns for the rights of students. Never once did I hear anything about the rights of residents. So you people, together with landlords, you blame NTRA for this recall. NTRA did not initiate this recall. One member did, but at this point, we are recommending our members sign it, and I've already signed it. And if you want to know why residents are upset with you, start listening to them. NTRA members, and often me personally, are continually assailed on social media, in the local papers, and at this microphone, and a woman just did that at the last meeting, and I won't respond to her because most people know me, know it's nonsense. But you five preach civility. But it is the landlords for whom you have become the mouthpiece who need a lecture on personal respect and civility. Thank you.
Thank you.
No other names signed up.
Anyone else? Catherine?
Catherine Celeberto, this is on 48 Earls Court. I'm a member of the NTRA. I've resigned 3 times over philosophical differences. Let me tell you about the NTRA. If they'll tolerate me, they'll tolerate anyone.
Just make sure that you keep it to the town business.
No, I'm just responding.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
I wasn't able to attend the workshop, the 3-student work session. I've been reading the transcript, and there is so much discussion about the 5 unrelated statute, and it made no sense to me. It was supposed to be a work session on the 3-student ordinance. The number of times that the attorneys read the unrelated statute to you people, it was mind-boggling. And then the various interpretations from everyone as to what that meant. And then the attempt to try to make unrelated the same as student. And that's just not true. Let me suggest you do this. Go to court, ask for an opinion. Ask whoever is assigned to this case if you can have 2 ordinances that are distinct, and can they be enforced separately? Now, let me tell you, Taft-Carter already ruled that they can, that they're 2 separate ordinances, and they can exist side by side and can be enforced separately. I know you don't want to believe it, but maybe you should just go to court and so she can tell you, exactly what's going on. As far as Mr. Hanley's statements, it is illegal to use people who you have power over to manipulate an election. And rental owners have power over their renters. And that's what they did. They caused them to register to vote, and they actually told them who to vote for. Not for the president. They let them vote whoever they wanted to, but for the town council members. They sent them texts. I've seen them with the names, your names. You can't manipulate an election. It's not legal to do that. So I disagree with Mr. Hanley in that regard. As far as, I could say more. You know what, I'm just going to leave it at that. But I would really like you to go to court instead of these work sessions where everybody's throwing up a different opinion about what these ordinances say. Oh, here's the other thing. Okay, at the work session, you stated that during executive session in December that you asked our attorney if you could enforce these ordinances. I'm going to file an APRA because I want the exact recording. You've already put it out there, so I know I can get it. And I'm just going to want that section where you spoke to the solicitor about which ordinances you can enforce. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else? All righty. Moving on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items C1, C2, and C3?
A motion to approve C1 through C3.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to new business from the Town Council, item D1. Is there a motion to appoint members to the Bike Path Ad Hoc Committee that was created at the September 2nd, 2025 Town Council meeting?
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Discussion. So as co-sponsors of this, I would turn it to Council members Vignali and Torialde if they would like to give a soundbite here on the follow-up of what this committee is, as well as how the selection of members went about.
So this is in response to an agenda item that was put on 2 weeks ago regarding the creation of an ad hoc committee for the bike path. As we well know, the bike path has been discussed several times over the last couple of decades. We are looking to finally put this to bed and make a decision on how best to end the bike path, also before our funding runs out for this. So we received a number of applications from individuals within the community and the potentially affected streets, such as Strathmore, Wanda Othmar, Kingstown Road, Narragansett Ave, as well as some officials within the town that we would like to appoint to this as well. Councilwoman Vignali, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, just that, thank you to everyone who did apply. This is a ad hoc focus committee so that we can, the people who will be directly affected will have the opportunity to meet with staff and, a member, planning board, engineer, who we can bring on board with us and have their questions answered and discuss various options that are out there. Anyone who's not chosen this evening has the opportunity to come to a workshop, which we are holding on October 6th. Everyone's voice will be heard at that point. Residents are invited to come to express their opinions, but this is basically going to, this ad hoc committee is going to basically consist of people who will be directly affected by the bike path decision.
And I just said something that I forgot I was going to say.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Sure. Maybe.
Because I know that there's this list here, but I know that I think it would be really important for a member of the South County Museum to be a part of this, and I know there is some interest. I don't know if the board will, the board of the museum will ask someone to join, but whomever they choose or whoever has the interest in that, I think that they should be allowed on as well. I didn't see anybody, but I want to make sure.
So Rebecca Kelly had forwarded an email saying that she would be interested in serving on the ad hoc committee.
Perfect.
Do you know who she forwarded that to?
Well, I have it, so I think it's to all of us. Let me check to see.
And while she's looking
Nope,
at that,
just to me.
I
Okay.
remembered
Okay.
what I was going to say.
Just to me.
The format for this that I envisioned was to hold a meeting prior to the October 6th, I believe it is, workshop, where we can meet, members of the ad hoc committee can meet, discuss, review the different options ahead of us. Fast forward to the workshop, hear all town opinions on that, and then meet once more following the workshop to digest opinions there and hopefully come to a consensus vote on the best path forward for the bike path.
So I would just ask that, since this is an ad hoc committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, Solicitor Callahan, but since this is an ad hoc committee and only 2 council members are present, they do not need to advertise when this meeting will occur, since we are already going to have a bike path meeting on October 6th, which will be a report back of all of this.
You probably don't have to, but it probably makes sense to do that. I think Sarah
Okay,
is prepared
so we can still
to
advertise it. Okay.
advertise, but at least post, not
Post,
advertise,
yeah,
post,
yeah.
excuse me.
I think
I
if
think
they,
I would like to do that, yeah.
yeah, I think that they both want people to chime in that aren't on the committee.
Right,
So, yeah.
and I
I
assume that
think
we're in
people can
agreement.
observe the meeting. I don't think that we have any objection to that, correct? No, okay.
Of course not.
Do you have an idea of what the date or proposed dates for when this first meeting will happen between now and October 6th?
Not at the moment, but once we've appointed the members, I would like to reach out to them to try and find a date that works for all.
Thank you. I would recommend as soon as possible, as time is of the essence. And then that way we can advertise it enough time in advance for those who are not specifically named as a committee member to be able to show up and listen in. I did have one other question. As Councilor Colonies has pointed out, I didn't see a member for South County Museum, but I didn't see a member from Parks and Rec either. And that was someone, at least a representative from the Parks and Rec Committee, I was hoping to see in here. I know that there was a lot of time that passed between there and maybe it wasn't communicated, but it's just something that I would just ask that this ad hoc committee do, just to continue to branch out and listen to all the voices like I know you guys do.
I think if you notice, basically right now, these are only residents that are we're appointed. So as far as the staff and members from different boards, that's going to be determined also. But that tonight, this evening is just members, residents who
are not already on other committees.
Correct.
So it
They're
could be like
the
a
residents who
resident.
live within the areas that are going to be affected by the bike
Okay,
path.
gotcha, thank you.
Okay.
So it could be a resident who's like on the Parks and Rec Committee who could volunteer to be on this.
If
That makes sense.
Yeah, at this point, we have these names to choose from, and I think that there's, Ryan's going to make a recommendation as to the members that we think would be asset to the committee, and I'll let you take it over.
All right.
Thank you.
2 seconds, just so I can ask the solicitor a question. If we just tonight say we would like a member of Parks and Recreation on it, and then just have them come on after, that's fine? Is that true?
Right, it's a staff member anyway, so it's, I mean, you guys are being advisory for the work session. It's very informal in a way, but it's helpful to get voices heard, I think is your goal.
Thank you.
So I know Jill Sabo had said that she would be interested, to be on as community development. And, we have other ideas of who we thought, like I think Rupert Friday would be an excellent, with his land use, land planning, use planning background. I think he would be really good. So we talked about various staff members, the engineer, but we haven't, Ryan's reached out to the engineer, and so you can keep going.
Okay, so unfortunately, we are not going to be able to have the engineer weigh in on this at this point in time with regards to the ad hoc committee.
Okay.
But in conversations, certainly willing to listen to what the committee has recommended and then provide their recommendation on feasibility.
That's perfectly fine.
But for the resident members of the ad hoc committee, at this point, I'd like to make some recommendations for appointment, namely Eric Menke, Don Frederick, David Smith, and Christopher Sletiani.
Rebecca.
The South County Museum.
Yeah, Rebecca. I think Kelly was, I think it was Rebecca Kelly.
Okay. Those are my recommendations. Do you have any opposition to the names that I have?
I think it's a good group. I think it represents all the areas of the paths that that are being considered, and it represents the people who live within those areas, and I think it's a good group of people.
Okay. Then do we want to also name staff members that we'll put on?
Well-
Do we want to formally appoint, let's say Jill and Rupert, or?
I don't think we're going to formally appoint a planning board member, as I believe they are discussing that at their meeting tomorrow, if that's correct.
That is correct.
So then they'll be able to appoint their member.
Could we at least make a recommendation that, we would very much like Rupert to be part of it, and just a recommendation to the planning board?
I don't know how to go about a formal recommendation, but I think
Okay, we'll just throw it out there.
Individually, I think we can
Okay.
do that.
Do we have to wait for a planning board
Do
to?
I-
We can't.
No, you can, they're going to be discussing and appointing tomorrow, it's my understanding as it's been communicated, so it's not really much of a time loss. So, but I do want to also thank Ms. Sabo for volunteering her time to participate in this discussion as well. Was there anyone else that you were looking to add?
Those, an additional, Parks and Rec member, should they be available in the coming weeks?
Okay.
Name TBD.
And just again, to echo what's already been said, that once you both have reached out to these individuals to figure out a time and place that work, we can promote it, put it out there, let the public know, and then the public will be invited to come in, listen into the dialogue, and then October 6th is specifically designed to get more public feedback. So if you're not able to participate in this ad hoc committee or show up to this ad hoc committee workshop, it is highly encouraged to come out to the October 6th work session that we're hosting here at the town hall, and we will listen to as much public feedback that we can squeeze in before the regular meeting. So,
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity for these folks who are going to be directly affected to have the opportunity to sit down and have some of their questions answered that they may not have had answered before. And I think it gives them a good opportunity to be able to discuss the various options together as a group. And they may or may not ever come to a decision, but at least it gives them the opportunity to be heard and discuss and,
the cross-collaborative
right, kind of
dialogue.
thing, yeah. Right. So,
Okay.
Mr. President, I just have one question that's
Sure.
come up over here. It had been mentioned Parks and Recreation, and I believe someone said Recreation Board. So is the
Let me
discussion a Parks and Recs staff member or a member of the Recreation Advisory Board? Just clarify that before you guys
I
finish, if you
appreciate
could.
that.
Thank you.
I actually, my own personal take is as long as it's a member of one of them, but if there's a preference from the council, as long as someone is a representative from either the Parks and Rec or the Recreational Advisory Committee, that, for me, that would be sufficient. But I don't know if the council has any.
Who's our liaison to that committee?
Oh, that's me.
Oh. Oh, so then there would be a quorum?
That would be a quorum,
Oh,
yes.
okay, yeah.
They're fine members in there, and the staff is awesome, so I have no preference on
Do you need us to give a preference? Is it easier to get a member from the Recreational Advisory Committee to participate, or a staff member from Parks and Rec?
We should be able to find you someone.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So does anyone from the public have any comment? Seeing none? All those in, oh, do I have to list out all the names? Or, because this is a, okay. So if Councilor,
Councilor Torialde already listed out the names
So that's
for
all
it,
set.
so we're good.
Okay. So all those in favor to appoint those individuals that Councilor Torialde alluded to? Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. On to item D2. Is there a motion to schedule a work session on October 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m. with the Parks and Recreation Department regarding beach policies and fees for the 2026 season?
Motion to schedule.
Second.
Discussion.
So I put this on the agenda. It's one of the more important conversations that we have every year about parks and recreation and the beach. The rec director asked me to put it on. I don't think there's too much more to say about it. It's just going to be a great meeting where we learn about the facts and can come up with some recommendations for the beach later.
Councilor Colonnese, can you just give a soundbite on this? Is this something that's traditionally held every year, or is this a new initiative?
No, this is held every year. Every year.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm very much looking forward to this discussion. I think it's been a tremendous beach season, and I'm looking forward to hearing the reports Anyone else on the council have any questions or comments? Anyone from the public? Yes.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. Right now, if you asked 10 people who can buy a beach parking pass, you'll get 10 different answers. And the problem is that the policies across the board are inconsistent. People who can buy a parking pass, an entrance pass, rent a locker, changing room, whatever, they are a class of people. And in that class, there are people who are full-time residents or pay $800 or more in residential tax. The problem is that, and so those would be the people you would think would be able to rent a locker, changing room, or cabana with the same terms. The problem is, over the years, there's been so much fiddling around with the policies.
Mr. President, I think we're getting off topic here. This is a scheduling.
Oh, thank you for
issue,
the
not-
reminder.
not
All
the
right,
actual
okay, I
subject
want you to
matter.
appoint a committee,
Thank
okay?
you.
People, objective people, to look through the policies and come up with, something that's consistent for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Appreciate it. All right. All those in favor? Yeah, I'm sorry. We got the date, the time already established. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to item D3. Is there a motion to discuss and provide Is there a motion to discuss and provide directions to the town manager in seeking estimates for the cost of covering portions of the Scarborough wastewater treatment facility, such as the ditch and headworks, to mitigate odor concerns?
Second.
So moved by Councilor Durkin, seconded by Councilor Vignali. So, Jim, I believe, is this your item?
Yep.
Okay. Want to give a soundbite on this?
Yeah, so I put this on because of a few different reasons, some of them being the obvious. But I think it's important that I explain my history in the south end of Narragansett. I grew up on Durkin Drive, which is where my office is, and I lived there until I was like 15 years old. And then my dad bought one of the first lots in Eastwood Look when it was first developed. And we built a house there, and we moved from Durkin Drive to Eastwood Look. And then shortly after that, I moved out of Eastwood Look because I was, 17 or 18. But I have a really good sense of the smells and the problems down there at the south end. And it's been there for a long time. It's been there when there was beach houses there and not year-round people. It's there now. It'll be there probably next month. There's no specific answer, it seems like to me, that has come out of what's happening now, except that people are actually complaining more. But it has been there, and we've done many things over the years to work with the problems, and some of them have been successful, and some of them I actually question if were taken apart and not policed properly after they were taken apart. Now, I did a lot of reading of the two different policies, the two different sewer analysis or facilities programs that they had. And, all the years that I've existed, I always thought that the sewer facility was open to the air because the air had something to do with the process, and the sun had something to do with the process. Now, I asked my son a quick question one day, and he worked at a sewer facility in Virginia, and he said, "Dad, I never saw anything like that. It was always covered." So then I asked further about that, and, now I really don't understand why it hasn't been covered all these years. So in the 2007 report, as Jim alluded to earlier, it was recommended. I mean, it's over 20 years ago. It's about 20 years ago that that report was created. And the section of the plant that was recommended to be covered for odor control was the headwork section, which is where all of the sewage actually comes into one area, and it flows through there like a river. It's an amazing amount of water that goes through there, and that is probably the water that smells the most, because it's actually coming right through from a toilet or wherever it's coming from into that area. The men mechanically and physically pick through and pick out the foreign materials that get flushed down the toilets, and they dump them into a dumpster. But all of that exposure to the air and the wind in that area is causing some of the problem. Now, I think, it's just such an easy solution to probably cover that. We might be able to find out what the reason was that it wasn't covered back then, but it'll take time. So there might be a good reason, but there might be no reason at all. So I think as the South End has developed, it just hasn't caught up. Like, the South End hasn't caught up with that facility the way it needs to. And what I put on here was specific to covering the ditch, which is something, when I was on the council prior, there was pine trees planted there and out in front that all the pine trees died in town because of a blight that happened. So you could actually see into that sewer plant. And I always thought that was like kind of ridiculous. So we ended up putting those arborvitaes there, and they still don't work probably because the deer eat them all. But I really don't think that it's a good thing for us to be looking at the workings of a sewer plant that's next to, a state beach. And so I would like the town manager to have his staff just tell us how big, Jim likes accuracy, how much it would cost to build a building that would cover the headworks as well as the ditch. Now, the ditch is the racetrack-looking thing that is circular. So you really can't cover that, but I think you could cover it with a building. Now, a little bit I know about construction. Steel buildings are very inexpensive. I'm sure that one has to be probably hurricane-proof, has to have, different supports. But I'm not trying to say, let's build a building that is only going to last for 3 years when we replace the plant, because what I've read is that racetrack area is still going to be there when we do the facility upgrade. So if we can build a building there, like between now and say, June 1st of next year, and cover it and have these scrubber things that the gentleman talked about earlier, they're carbon scrubbers, so it makes the air that comes out of the building clean again. I think that would be like a home run. And, and it's certainly not a Band-Aid on, on a long-term solution, but it would just be something that would be necessary in the long-term solution. Because when I look at that facilities report, they talk about expanding everything, but they don't talk about covering any of it, which doesn't make any sense to me. So I think we have to really think about that, and I don't want to be just making people think I'm gearing in at Scarborough facilities, but Scarborough is what we can control. We have the ability to spend the money, make the decisions without asking someone else. Maybe we have to ask DEM or something, but we don't have to ask the town of South Kingston, we don't have to ask URI. So the other plant, I think covering it is another answer to that plant as well, but I think that's going to be another day and another, place at the table, like we said, because, these plants were made to take care of what we have, and it's just, something's happening with, the operations. It's hanging around too long, it's smelling, so we got to stop the smell issue and work on the rest of it separately. So I think, Jim, are you clear as far as what I'm asking for?
I am.
Okay. Because I really, I don't think we have to wait for it to go out to bid. I'm just looking for, like, does it cost $1 million to build a building? And then if it costs a reasonable figure, then maybe we can send it to engineering and have it engineered properly and get advice if it's going to, last through the years of rehabilitation of the plant. So that's all I have to say right now.
Anyone on the council have any questions or follow-ups?
So I just wanted to say, I know that Jim and Donna have really taken this very seriously, and I appreciate that. I don't disagree with anything you said. It doesn't make sense to me either. And though I know the answer is we have to build this new facility, in my world, in my mind, not to you guys, maybe, I don't know, but in my mind, but we have to build this new facility. I think that proactive covering makes complete sense, and I appreciate your thoughts on it.
Anyone else?
Just generally speaking, I'm in favor of this. I would, however, like to hear the estimated cost as to what this would take, the timeline for this, and the efficacy of it.
Yeah, I think as much again, I've appreciated my conversations with the town manager, and I understand that they're working overtime to get answers and address the many concerns down there at the treatment facility. Again, I applaud Councilor Durkin for putting this on as a discussion item to provide directions to the town manager, because, it's one thing to be told a lot of these things during budget season and in a report. It's another thing to be able to get just additional information out there as to what we're seeking. So I appreciate this effort and look forward to hearing your report.
I promise you'll get more information that you want.
Oh, no, we always do. Thank you. Does anyone from the public have any comments? Yes, Mr. Hanley first. And just please direct all questions and comments to the town council.
Oh, sure. So I'm not,
Oh, just please state your name and.
John Hanley, 10 Wilderness Drive.
Thank you.
I'm not opposed to what you're saying, but part of where I used to work, we would do a cost, go out and get a cost of something. But at the same time, we'd also have an assessment of what this project, what are the benefits from it? What is it going to do? I don't think sitting here, anybody knows, sounds like a good idea. I agree, but you have to understand what you're going to get out of it before you go and do something like this, because it may be better than you think. But then again, it may not do much at all. So I would just say there needs to be an assessment, cost-benefit assessment of this thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Before responding, Mr. Durkin, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. I just want to make sure that everyone from the public gets to speak first. Is that okay? Thank you. Yes.
Carol Spaziano, 12 Burnstrom Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island. I live right near the sewage treatment plant. Scott is doing an exceptional job, but when they leave at 3 o'clock, Today it didn't stink at all. 3:30, the odor was horrendous. I applaud you. I thank you, Jimmy, for coming down. And I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe there is one covered in Newport. Maybe you want to check that one out. But I want to thank you for addressing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Celebrata.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I just received a text. What's their plan for the long-term solution? They wanted me to ask. This is just treating the symptom and not the disease. The disease is the increased inflow that we can't deal with. Who benefits the most from this? Mr. Durkin with his 134 rentals, but we're all going to have to pay for it, and I object to that. Instead of spending money and getting estimates and all that other stuff, we have to address the problem. That's the first step, not covering or these are just piecemeal, and maybe it'll help for like a few months or maybe a year, whatever, but the bottom line is the system isn't working anymore. And you have to address that. It's going to be expensive, but you have to do it. You have to start getting estimates. You have to try to get bonds out. You have to try to get grants. You just have to move forward here. And I don't see this happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, just to, as a reply, if you don't mind if I reply first. I think we can all agree that it's better to do something than nothing. I agree that this is piecemeal, and I appreciate the recommendations that have been brought forth, the cost-benefit analysis and long-term solutions. I think actually listening to Councilor Durkin, that is the initiative here, that this is very much just the first stepping point in that direction to finding a long-term solution. I think we can all agree, we would hear a lot more complaints and continue to hear complaints if we don't put a Band-Aid on the wound right now. But I agree that that wound isn't going to heal over time unless we figure out a long-term solution. So I agree that this is not a long-term solution, but it's a step in the right direction. And this is the first of many more conversations that we're going to have as a council and as a public, and I'm sure we'll schedule a work session on this soon as well. Councilor Durkin, I didn't mean to step over you.
I was going to talk to Mr. Hanley because
We're not going to engage in a back and forth conversation, but you can respond to Mr. Hanley as he was given his opportunity to speak, but you can respond to his questions.
Oh, yeah, so basically, I don't want anybody to think that this is a Band-Aid. Like, it can be a Band-Aid for a short period of time, but this building, if it has to be moved or if it has to be manipulated in some certain way, or it makes it harder or more expensive to do something else to the long-term improvement, I want to get that answer. It doesn't look, if you look at the improved facility plan and that we just were presented with, it doesn't look like any of that construction is going to have anything to do with covering that ditch. Now, I'm sure there's pipes that go from that ditch to the clarifier, that go to that, but I don't know how many there are. And if that's the extent of what's underneath the ground, then it should be a simple rectangular building that can go over there with some, some fans in the ceiling and maybe a couple doors, and it should be simple. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about wasting any town money. I will never, ever do that. And what else was I gonna say? So Jim, not just the ditch, but it's also the headworks part, which is the smaller area where the sewage actually comes into, and I think there probably was a plan for that, which I didn't see back in 2007. So it might even have been estimated at that time, but prices were a lot different. And then one of the bigger things that I asked about too is I think that we need to estimate the usage of the state facilities that were using that plant. So like I think about, we have a lot of state stuff that
We
operates.
do have the numbers.
Oh, we do have them now?
Of the water going in.
Okay.
And we have
So
to
the
assume
water
what's
going
coming
into
out.
like Fisherman's Memorial Campground, the water going into Scarborough State Beach, the water going into Sandal Cove, water going into Salty Bryan, right? All of that stuff, right? All those state facilities in the south end, okay?
Correct. That will all be in the package that
Right,
we've been assembling.
okay. And then, so that base is what you think is the surge going. So if the water going in is properly piped, then the water going out is going to be pretty close.
Well,
to the
some of
surge.
it's showers, outdoor showers.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't go into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
system.
And the other thing I touched on, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you about that earlier, was I know that the fish processing plant, and it bothers me, so I'm thinking about this stuff at night, and I got a feeling that this fish stuff getting through. And, you know, I don't know if it's going to cause a huge problem or not, and I know that I was told that you can see it in the water, but I think there's sensors that can be put in that pump station in Galilee that will tell you exactly what goes through that pipe. You know, I read an article about something in, you know, Nantucket, and they could determine how much fentanyl was in the water, how much, you know, different things like that.
Anything can be done. We can test water of rivers for, you know, DNA of the waste that's in there, whether it's from a cow, whether it's from, I mean, you can test anything.
Yeah, no, I know, and I guess that's being done. I thought that was pretty, DNA testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we can test it unless there's an access point to the pipe that.
To be clear, I've had this discussion repeatedly with the superintendent. We both came here around the same time in 2019. There has been zero indicia of fish going through that system. It's handled by the staff, anything that's caught, that's discarded, and that's caught by the screens. They don't detect the odor. They don't detect the byproducts. There really is no indicia of it.
Yeah.
I know years ago, long before Scott was here, they had a brief issue when they were processing it down in Galilee. But 2019, zero indicia from staff reports and reports from the superintendent.
Yeah, well, that's good, but we got to get to the bottom of it, and like, you know, I just feel like this building, you know, or I don't know, you know, like something that surrounds that. It's like.
Oh, the headworks? Yeah, absolutely. That's in there, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
That's what we're going to get your price on.
You know, it's like people have doors on bathrooms for a reason, and, you know, they close their door, you know, and if you don't, your wife's yelling at you. You know, it's like, it's a very simple thing, I think, you know, and we just need to move on with it, I guess, so, in a cost-effective way.
So if I could just mention, when we were there at the waste treatment plant, which was an experience, thank you very much. So I had mentioned, and I asked the engineer, and I believe it was Scott, and said, so if we gave you the money right now, right this minute, to build a new plant, how long is it going to take? And they said, 20 years. It's going to be 5 or 6 years just to get the planning done. So I think when you're talking about something like this, it's really, in my lifetime, not a temporary type of thing. I think if it's going to help us for the future and for the many years coming while we're actually working to try to get this plant done and everything is getting done, I think it's a good thing, and I think it's something that we should really seriously look at. And I don't see it as temporary. I see it as something that needs to get done for the long term until we get the new plant in.
Well, my eyes widened when I heard 20 years, and I think a lot of residents' eyes will widen when they hear that as well. And, you know, if it is in fact a 20-year project, it's exceptionally important that we continue to be on this and finding solutions that will improve our infrastructure and address the odor that's clearly a problem now, so that, you know, this wound doesn't fester, that it continues to be addressed and maintained while this longer-term solution is in conjunctionally being worked on as well. Does anyone else on the council have any questions or comments? I know a lot.
I think Donna was actually, the facilities plan is 20 years. Yeah, right. The facility plan is a 20-year, like, it doesn't necessarily have to take 20 years to do that, but to
get from here to where we want to be.
right, yeah.
So the overall project could take 20 years, but building a facility wouldn't take 20 years. It's just the whole, I think we should probably follow up on that, because it's,
Oh, Jim, I don't know. The engineer said to me 5 to 6 years just to do the planning. I remember him saying that.
Yeah, the facility plan goes out 20 years, just like the one from 2007 did. The plant would not, it wouldn't take 20 years to build. But again, whatever option is selected by the council from what's presented to DEM will impact that timeline. I think we should wait before we comment any further on that until we see
of course.
what plan is approved and what the council chooses to go with.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Anyone else on the council? All right. We have discussed, and we are ready to direct to Town Manager Jim Tierney. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. On to the Fire Department, item E1. Is there a motion to read, pass, and adopt as a second reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 26 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Fire Prevention and Protection, specifically within Article 3, Division 3, entitled Firefighters?
Motion to read, pass, and adopt.
Second.
Discussion.
And I was going to say discuss.
Well, I was going to say, this is the second reading, so there won't be any public comment or discussion on this item. And again, I appreciate the recommendations that have been brought forth here by the chief and the town manager. Does anyone else on the council have any final thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to the Parks and Rec Department. Is there a motion to schedule a public hearing on October 6th, 2025 to discuss the 2026 Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management RIDEM Outdoor Recreation Grant?
Motion to schedule.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm just going to say that we have the bike shop, or the bike path workshop that night as well.
Yep. And this shouldn't impact that, because that's going to be, so the bike path workshop will be at 5:30 that evening, and this would be a public hearing scheduled during the regular portion of the meeting.
This is a vital hearing for funding and grant opportunities, so it's really necessary that we do this.
And do we have any other hearings that evening? Okay, that's unusual. Thank you. And this is a scheduling item. Does anyone else on the council have any questions? Anyone from the public? Yes, Ms. Alberto.
Okay, I'm going to speak to the scheduling. I'd like you not to schedule it until Ms. Kershaw adds more requests. When these were put in the past, it'd usually be 3 requests, 3 different requests, and this time there's only 1, and I really don't understand why. One of the things I think that should be put in is the linear path that was proposed 10 years ago, frankly. It would be a walkway across the street from the beach. I think it's bordering those ponds, and then there'd be interpretive signs and this and that. But that's not even a proposal. And there are other proposals that we've put in the past, like you can ask for playground equipment and that type of thing. And I don't know why there's just one this time.
That could be something that we discussed during the public hearing. Do you have anything
I don't know.
specifically about the
That's what I want to
scheduling?
know. Can you discuss that during the public hearing?
We
If
can.
you can add these during
We
the
can,
public
we
hearing,
can
do you
discuss in the
think?
public hearing. We just, this
You
has
can
to be
add this.
specific.
Okay,
Comments
all
has to
right.
be specific to
All right,
just
well,
the
as long as
scheduling.
you're going to add them during the public hearing. Okay,
Thank you. Anyone else on the specific scheduling portion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Public Works.
Oh, thank you. On to Public Works. First item G1, is there a motion to approve the filling of one vacancy within the Highway Division due to a retirement and any subsequent vacancies that may arise from the filling of this position?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Discussion. This is just standard approval of a filling of one vacancy position. And there's really no additional comment needed, I think. Can you just confirm that, Jim? Just standard?
Standard, union.
Perfect. Anyone on the council?
Let's make sure the wastewater treatment facility is fully staffed.
Yes. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to item G2, is there a motion to approve, ratify, and confirm change order number 1 with Martone Service Company, Inc. for the Town Hall front entrance refurbishment project in the credit amount of $23,089 and approve change order number 2 for the project in the amount of $290,630.18.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Discussion.
Unfortunately, I read that, I guess, I'm sure you guys read it. There's not much I think we can do about that. It's just something that, construction, you just don't know what's behind the walls until you open them up.
Would you want to just give a little bit of a soundbite of what's being approved here in the change order?
It's the
Just like why?
windows. They had to change the windows. So I guess there's a credit coming back from the windows that we were gonna have.
Yeah, the original manufacturer couldn't make doing it, so we were given a credit on that. And then when the alternate company came in and started taking the walls apart, they realized the building was not strong enough to support these and had to be fully renovated. The funds for this a lot of it is from the interest from the American Rescue Plan Act money as well, so that reduced the cost of the town. It's interest money that was from ARPA, and that's what was assigned for the project originally.
So can you just reiterate that those funds that you're talking about, are they going to be applied to this $290,000, or is this $290,000 after what's been applied?
Well, it'll come from the ARPA funding part,
Okay.
which there's also interest involved.
Okay, yep. Thank you. Anyone else on the council have any questions? Anyone from the public? Yes, Ms. Siliberto.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I'm going to say the same thing I've always said. When you put out contracts, you really have to put out amount certain. This is an incredibly large change order. I don't think I've ever seen a change order this big. When someone bids a project like Martone, they've been around a long time, they should be able to judge what the project is going to cost. ABCOR never has change orders, never. And I don't understand why Martone always has change orders. And the only way to stop that is to put the projects out amount certain. And it doesn't really matter if it's interest from the ARPA money. Let's face it, that's all our money, isn't it? That just comes back to us. It's the fact that he should be able to judge how much the project's going to cost, but Martone never, ever does. This is a huge change order, and I really think you should think about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, it's a good question, Jim, and a good point. Jim, sorry, just a really quick question. On being able to put these out for amount certain, do you have a comment on that, or just as a response to that?
on a practical matter, anytime anyone has any done work on their house with an amount certain, they always find something. And when there's a comment done on a car, every time we bring it in, frequently they find something else wrong with it, and we verify it. In this situation, on glance at the windows, they had come up with what they thought, didn't realize how poorly these structures have been positioned in these windows, and when they did the inspection of the building itself, it was a lot worse than we thought. So that's how the change order. When they started taking these windows out and looking keeping them in place from falling on us, then it was necessary.
Thank you. Anyone else on the council have any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to the engineering department. Is there a motion to, is item H1, is there a motion to approve the filling of one vacancy process control pretreatment coordinator within the wastewater division due to a resignation and any subsequent vacancies that may arise from the filling of this position?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Again, this is just another standard filling of an open vacancy due to a resignation at the wastewater treatment facility. And I don't have anything else to add. Anyone on the council have anything?
Let's fill it quickly.
Yes. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to item H2. Is there a motion to approve the wireless communication tower antenna lease agreement with Celco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless for communications equipment at the North End water tank site, and authorize the town manager to sign the agreement after review by the town solicitor?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this item? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to item H3. Is there a motion to authorize the town manager to sign a successor agreement with the University of Rhode Island relative to the lease of flow space at the regional wastewater treatment facilities in the amount of $151,492 for a one-year period?
I'll make the motion.
Motion seconded. Discussion.
Thank you. Discussion? Does anyone want to start off with any questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, just one thing. It says here that funding is available in the wastewater enterprise fund operating account, yada, yada, yada. What would the balance be on this account were we to proceed with this?
Say that question again?
How much would be left in the fund were we to proceed with this?
I believe the unassigned fund balance currently is about, as of June of 2024,
Approximately.
five something. John, we just went through this, we're just trying to. $553,000. The portion of this was already budgeted.
Okay.
It was just a change.
Oh, so just to echo what you've just said, that this portion has already been budgeted for this year?
Most of it has.
Okay. Thank you.
The rest would come out of the enterprise account from that.
Can I just ask a question, and I'm not trying to be, I mean, this is something that probably has to happen, but why, it's such a big jump in price, it seems to me.
Well, the calculation indicated that we've exceeded the allowable amount, and we discussed with them the calculating method. And John met specifically and spoke with them specifically on the calculating method that we discussed. And then we finally met with them last week in a meeting and discussed this one-year agreement that we had been negotiating with them since March. And once this was done, when they gave this to us, when we went back and forth at the meeting, there was further discussion which focused on our plans for, for our plant and for URI expanding their dorms over a few years. And that's when they said, once we get this executed in about, I think, what did they say, like February or so, after Christmas, they wanted to get together to do a multi-year agreement for that facility and to discuss maybe more space, or at least a multi-year agreement that would give us a few extra years before they expand extensively at URI.
You all set,
No,
Jason?
go ahead.
So is this price for the same capacity as last year, or?
Now it's an increase.
It's an increased capacity. Okay, that makes a little more sense to me. And then I guess my understanding was this: we would do this one-year contract, and then we would negotiate for, for more capacity is what I thought. And maybe a better rate.
Sorry, Mr. Colonies, do you want to just repeat your
Yeah,
question?
so I guess my understanding was is that we would do this one-year extension, and then we would negotiate for even more capacity and perhaps a better rate.
The increased capacity would be with the renewal. This was a recalculation for this agreement because it hadn't been, they didn't believe it was calculated properly, and we went back and forth with them. And there'll be an increase at the end of this term.
Okay, I got you.
Is
Thank
that
you.
accurate from what we discussed? Yeah.
So it's the same as last year.
So I can never, so what we're paying them, are they just getting a bonus for giving us this space that they have that they're not paying for? Or are they paying for it and we're reimbursing them? That's what I don't get, because this is temporary stuff. So, are we just giving them 171,000 to take up a percentage?
151.
151,000 to take up some percentage that they have to use in the future?
We lease a portion of the plant. John can speak a little bit more on the flow.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more technical, but that's how it's calculated.
Good evening, everyone. As you're aware, we own a portion of the facility, URI owns a portion, and South Kingstown owns a portion. Our percentage is about 24%, and that's all based on the original capital construction cost. So it cost, say, $10 million to build the plant, and we own 24% of that. So that's $2.4 million that we would have spent in the past. So what we are leasing is a portion of that capacity because we're flowing at, we own 24% of the plant, but we typically, our flow out of the total flow is 45% of the total flow going to the plant. And those totals are based on about 50% or 60% of the total capacity. So I can't do the math as well in my head since the calculators robbed me of that ability, but we're paying for the portion of the capacity that we don't use because by the agreements in the original construction, we're only entitled to 24% of 5 million gallons a day, which is 1.2197 million gallons a day. And we generally are putting in 80 to 90% of that on a regular basis and exceeded at times too. So we are renting space based on the original construction of the facility and how much it worked. All the rest of the operating costs are spread based on what we actually send over there flow-wise. It's broken up by partner based on the amount of flow that they put in out of the total amount of flow that the plant receives. But the rental, we're renting space that was constructed 20 years ago or 30 years ago, or when the plant was built in the 70s and late 70s, early 80s.
So let me rephrase it then, my question, because so if if we didn't give them that $150,000, they would be out $150,000, but they wouldn't be out anything else, right? We're not reimbursing them for anything that they're doing. It's just something that is just like this, we're renting their air, or we're renting their little space in
Yeah,
their
they
future.
They own, the percentage is 40, it was 40%, it's 38 and change now. Because South Kingstown owns 41, I believe. I just have the numbers all memorized off the top of my head.
Well, I know both of those
But-
numbers are higher than ours, you know.
Oh, yeah, well, the percentages, yeah, but yeah, because if we send more flow to the plant than what we own, then we would be in violation of our intermunicipal agreements. That's the issue, and that's where we're at with, and that's why we had the meetings with SK and with URI over these conditions. It's, you know, we can't turn the faucet off, you know, those were connected, and that's the flow we send there, and that was part of the discussions with URI. It's like, well, what are you gonna do to try and resolve this in the short term and the long term? The long term is expansion at the regional plant, or we would have to come and negotiate some sort of a revised ownership and have to pay for that ownership. But yeah, we're just leasing, we're leasing the total capacity that was built in the original construction. And that's their calculus of it was based on some operating costs, which aren't necessarily valid, but there's really, you know, that was part of the discussion, as Jim can say too, that there was no, you look through the files and where the original numbers came from and what the lease amount was based on, it was almost like it was a handshake agreement, and that's what the numbers were. So they had to come up with a calculation to give to their board to present a number, and that's what they came up with, and we need the capacity. So we discussed with Jim, and we presented it as this without challenging it any further, because we're already 3 months into the lease period, and we want to get another agreement squared away with them. So we're whole, and we have an agreement in place for the period between the end of this agreement next July to when we have the facilities squared away, so we have enough capacity and we own the capacity that we need.
So, but this is just for 1 year, right?
This is 1 year.
3 months is already over.
Exactly. But they agreed that we're going to work on a successor agreement. And then once, you know, we have our facilities plan has the numbers squared away, South Kingstown's working on their facilities plan to have some of their numbers squared away, and work those numbers all together to see what we actually need and what we have to do, and then have some milestones in the agreement of when other facilities need to be in place.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, so how do they justify almost doubling the cost? So is it pretty much because we are in a position we have to do this? Like,
They're the landlord, we're the tenant, essentially. It's a lease agreement, and the value of it is whatever we're willing to pay and whatever they want to charge. Like I said, that's the calculation. You know, if you went back and based it on a time value of money and how much they spent originally, you could come up with different numbers. So those negotiations will take place in addition to resolving the terms and what conditions we want to have on us and what conditions we want to have on them. But yeah, that's the problem. How do you define what the value is, Jim? Or Mr. Durkin, it's a difficult thing to define.
You know, I would just think that they would allow us to have some of their space temporarily for nothing, because it doesn't cost them anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they have an overhead that, you know, like, it's...
That's an argument that can be made.
Yeah,
But
like,
we
it
can
would
make
be a
that
friendly
argument. We can
neighbor
make that
type of
argument.
gesture, you know?
That's the issue. I don't know, you know, the original leases, they all go back to 94, 95.
Yeah.
Again, right after a plant was expanded again to 5 MGD, and we still didn't have the capacity. So it's just the issue. And again, I don't know how they came up with a number, but the numbers were on the order of $125,000, $150,000 a year. Then they were 140. Then it dropped. Then we dropped the capacity down to 2,000 200,000 gallons a day, and it dropped to $70,000 a year, and it was just the number. You know, that's what the rent was. So we need to establish it. And URI, you know, when we responded, I sent a lease agreement off to them in March and requested the same terms and conditions, 1 year, $70,000, just extend this lease. They came back with 151. They had a calculation, and but we didn't get that back until July or August.
I just don't think it's a good neighbor. You know, I really feel like it's, you know, that's double the cost of the year before for the same amount of flow, right?
It is.
Yeah. And, you know, it seems like, to me, reading this stuff, we've been doing it since 91? Leasing
94,
capacity?
94 or 5, I believe,
94?
was the first year. 94 or 5.
I go back in my head, it's like, why, you know, our forefathers only decided to take 21% of that plant or whatever. Maybe we didn't have the money, maybe they were frugal. But I believe that it was to sewer the north end of town. So, like, why is it coming up short?
I don't know the original projections, but and whether it was after the sewers became available and partially constructed, and there was a boom up there, or what happened. But I agree, the town's allotment in the original planning documents is insufficient to cover the whole north end. And we need to address that now. And that's, like I said, we went in, you know, we have to negotiate another contract, another agreement. So that's why I felt it was prudent to, well, let's get the current agreement extended and not waste time arguing about that, and then we can move forward and establish what the next agreement's going to be.
Yeah, it seems like we need to probably figure out some legalness to that whole, you know, history of that, because this is not going away. Just gonna, in June, we're gonna be sitting there at their, you know.
Well, that's the plan, is to
And
have
the
another.
plant's in our town.
Yeah, the plan is to have another agreement in place so that we don't have 3 months down the road, and we're waiting for it. You know, they went through, like Jim mentioned, that we submitted it in March, and, you know, I kept calling back, sending emails, hey, where we stand, and they were reviewing it with the board, this and that, and then we finally got a response that they were willing to do it. You know, this is a change, you know, in the last several years that, you know, initially it was like, yeah, we got plenty, but now they're looking at it like they may not have the capacity. I don't think that I think they're still going to have capacity, even with their facilities coming online. It's not an extreme expansion, you know, and they've got plenty of room there. They're really flowing at half or less of what their actual own capacity is, so they should be able to accommodate us, but we have to come to a reasonable agreement.
So they mentioned growth on campus, and the Bay campus, and the new dormitories, and so I think that, you know, something in the letter that I read mentioned that. Does that put us in danger of not being able to get what we need, or is it just a way of putting us on notice that it may be a little bit more because we're going to have less?
Yeah, I think they wanted to, you know, they want to make sure that we can address our needs and trying to give the notice there. Like I just said too, I think from the numbers that I look at capacity-wise and what their flow figures are, they're not real close. I mean, obviously we're up against it and over our capacity, but they're not close enough. You know, no, the calculation we send them is we could double the flow we give them from 200,000 to 400,000 gallons a day. And rent that back, and that amount of their available capacity is, you know, they still have 25% excess available capacity left over. So they've got a couple of dorm projects, which they'll be able to estimate the flows from, and they've got a water treatment facility that's going to get expanded down there, that they've got a backwash system that's got to get into. They're not sure what those numbers are. They're going to finish those planning documents and get all the flow figures for those so they know where they'll be at. And then, you know, hopefully there's a good nexus where, you know, we'll be able to have the regional facility squared away for what the town actually needs and is going to send over there. We'll get that addressed in, you know, 5 or 6 years, and they don't need their capacity for 5 or 6 years, and we'll all be on the same page.
Just tossing this out as an idea, and I don't know necessarily the feasibility of this or if he's potentially interested in this, but Previously, we've met with the planning board, and Mr. Callahan on the planning board has discussed how he worked in relations, I believe it was, for UConn between the community and the school. Should he be, available or willing to help, I think he might be a valuable resource to potentially bring in for negotiations with, or at least discussions with the University of Rhode Island on this matter. Just a suggestion for the future.
Yeah, because, I think that we have probably, as a town, some right to make sure that their increased capacity doesn't create an odor problem. They're talking about, we've been asking them to build dorms since I was a kid. Now they're building dorms. All that surge is going to go right through that plant. So, and then everything that South Kingston builds is going to go through that plant. So we should be, as a town, trying to protect ourselves through their efforts to expand their community and not have, basically the toilet in their backyard, So we have that here. I think we should start thinking about that now, covering that, requiring them to budget for that,
Well, that's, the South Kingstown is working on their facilities plan. I have not had any recent communication with the Public Services Director there as to what the status is and other than the preliminary schedule. But yeah, those are the type of comments that people came and commented on our plans, and that's the type of comments and that's the type of feedback that I'll give him as well. Because again, we have a little, we'll be involved in that planning as we are part owners of the plant, so we have a say and a chair at the table in that one. So I agree, we can include odor control as part of the facilities planning process for that facility.
Yeah, so whatever we have to do to make that happen, I think you could ask Jim to ask us, and I think we'd be in favor of, moving ahead with any of that stuff, because, the writing's on the wall.
Anyone else have any comments or questions before I say my bit? Okay. Yeah, I agree with what Councilor Durkin has alluded to already. It did seem odd to see the cost double, especially when, we have many URI students living in the Narragansett community, and already reading the agreement and realizing that the town of South Kingstown, the town of Narragansett, and URI have had a regional sewer partnership formalized through an intermunicipal agreement initially signed in 1971. And there are two councilors up here, myself included, who weren't even alive at the time in which this agreement was created. So my personal recommendation, as I think I've stated before, is that we revisit this agreement amongst the three parties. It's been a wish of mine, and it's been quite the year, but I would like to formally invite the town council from South Kingstown to a collaborative discussion at a future meeting. We'll figure that out probably over the next month. We'll figure out a date that works between both councils. But I think this is just one example in which we really need to engage in a public discussion, because I don't agree with this rate increase. I think at the very least it should be as a courtesy, as a neighbor, and with what we're doing by accommodating students in Narragansett, that it should be at least the same cost year over year until this gets, a new agreement gets put into place. So that's my position on it. It's a little surprising. I don't, and I applaud the effort, of course, that this has been a discussion that's been going on since March. But it is just, in my opinion, that there's really not a good reason for the cost to be doubling here, and I think we just need to go back and renegotiate. So that's my personal opinion. I don't know if anyone else on the council has a response to that before I go to the public.
Not really a response, but Jim, earlier didn't you say that at this point, we've exceeded the capacity, which is partially the reason for the rate increase?
That was in 23, 24, right, John? That 1 year, the 112%? Yeah. Yeah, and it's happened before that too, but for that period for the 5-year period, it was in 23, 24, we went up to 112% of our own capacity.
And this year, if we know?
We approximately, the fiscal 24, 25, we're at about 97%. We won't have the other one, 25, 26 until later.
Okay.
So I think, Ryan, there's two types of capacity, which always gets me confused. It's the own capacity from the 90, like when the plant was built, everybody chipped in so much, and you got a percentage of what
This would be the influence, the income, the flow contribution to it, is what I refer to on this one.
And then we have our own sewer policy, which says, I think it used to say 80%, then they bumped it up to 85%, but it's really like, there's a fudge factor of 15%. So like, when I think we talk about these gallons per day, it's not like 100%, but with the own capacity, I think I saw it at 94%, which is very close to the 100, but with our sewer policy, we have this like, the people that run the town determine that when it reaches 85%, we got to do something about it. And I think what's happening with URI is not that part, it's the own capacity, if I'm right, because it's all together. So anyway, you know what, Alex? I think that's a great idea. Let's renegotiate. You want a motion to renegotiate what that item says? I don't mind.
I guess I just would like to ask a question with my negotiating contracts kind of experience. So when they came back with this number of 151, were they willing to negotiate, or was it like, this is it, this is set in stone, we can't negotiate it, it's this or, nothing? I'm just curious, like, being good neighbors and being next door to each other, I was just wondering, are they willing to work with us? And like, did you get that feeling that they were willing to renegotiate? I'm just,
Not really,
okay.
no.
Well, maybe they were hesitant because of the old council and they didn't like, maybe it's some like kind of politics thing or whatever. I mean, maybe it's, I don't know, they seem to be very negotiable when we
These
talk
guys
to
aren't
them.
politicians.
Huh?
They're not politicians, these guys.
No, I know. So, I don't know. It just seems, it doesn't seem neighborly, but.
So I don't know what direction this is going to go in, but if this does not pass this evening, or if the recommendation is to continue this for further negotiating, Mr. Callahan, actually, I don't know if there's a general consensus built before we put this to a vote to continue to negotiate, is that something that we could do to amend this, or we just have to reject it outright and then a new plan gets presented to us at a later time?
Do you mean this specific motion?
This specific motion, yes.
I think you could continue it and ask the staff, town, to reach back out and look for a different number. There's no harm in that.
Okay.
Is there a time?
Yep, go ahead.
So can I just want to,
Expired, but that's, already behind it, but
so my most important question for me is, if we were to continue this and ask for a new number, we're not going to lose access to this facility, right?
Well, I don't know what their reaction would be. I mean, they sent the agreement over signed, and when Jim and I met with them, we said we present it to the council as signed. And, as he mentioned, it didn't seem like that there was really any willingness for negotiation. I think what one of the issues is, or conditions, is that this was more or less, just a handshake gentleman's agreement between the parties back when it started. And the people who originally handled the deal were familiar with each other. And in particular, on the URI side, nobody really understands exactly the history behind it and where it was. They all just, think, oh, well, this is money and we should charge them more because we've been charging them $70,000 a year for the last 20 years. It should be more than that. And they came up with a formula to put it together. Like I said, and we said we present that to the council this way, and then we will, work aggressively to negotiate the best deal for the next long-term agreement to handle the interim period to when when our capacity is resolved at the treatment facility.
So I have a suggestion. Why don't we just go back, have John go back, or have someone go back to them with, and just make that 175,000 2 years instead of one.
You mean that total?
And it's a simple negotiation.
You mean 151,492 over
Which is an
2
increase
years.
from last year to 75,000 instead of 70.
So the cost would be
70.
whatever half of 151,492 is, and then the total would be for the 2 years.
Yeah, and then at least it gives us some breathing room to, sit down and negotiate and come up with a plan.
As long as that half of 151,492 is not less than what we've been doing on a yearly basis.
I think what we were doing, Jim, last year was 70, right? Wasn't it an even 70? Because I think we approved that, like our first month in
70.
office.
It's been 70 for quite some time.
Yeah. So I don't want to be the council that raises it for I don't know what reason.
Well, that is another good point, that we don't know what precedent that we're setting here, that this could be 151,000, and then the next agreement is it's going to be 151,000 a year now for the 3 years agreement that they come back with next. So the more that we're talking this out, the less in favor of the way in which this has been proposed. And again, I understand and appreciate the amount of time that's gone into this, and that procedural-wise, this is being presented to us, and that this expired at the end of June. But that's also, I think, some really good concerns have been brought forth this evening. So, Councilor Vignali, did you have any? I didn't know if you were, okay. So with that, Jim, do you think the recommendation here would be to continue this? Is that what you're saying, or just to vote?
Well, I think make it easy, right? Just, we already have a motion, we have a second, right? So somehow we have to.
Well, we have a motion first and second to discuss.
Got it. So then, can we make a motion to have whoever negotiated it go back and say the council feels that their offer is excessive, and we'd like that offer to be over a 2-year period, including June of 2025?
So I think we have to make a motion to amend this motion to then be the 2-year agreement.
I think you should probably be a little less specific, allow the staff to work with that as the basis for your negotiation, but let them sort of work it. I don't think you should be providing your position in full public view at this point. Might not be the best tactic.
Right, just go
strategy.
back and say we would
that's
like
very
to
fair.
renegotiate this.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're clear on the language in which we're voting for and considering here.
I just want to, again, I will double down on this and say that I don't want this to endanger our use of this facility. Again, I agree with you. I think it's too high, and I think we need to negotiate, but I think that you are very capable of doing that on your own.
So in response to Jason's, what's the worst-case scenario? Could they say, and could they cut us off, or?
Well, without the additional capacity, we are maxing out on our own capacity, and we'll, on a daily, depending on a high flow day, we would exceed it. So and then that brings into play other aspects of the intermunicipal agreements that we would have to address, and they could force us into a position of, for the expansions, but a lot of those, wheels are in motion already with the facilities planning process we have in place and South Kingstown's to try and resolve the overall capacity issue. So again, they can't. We're connected. We can't shut. They can't disconnect us from the facility, but it would bring challenges to the whole negotiating process with us, URI and SK, in the long run.
Well, I'm willing to take a shot at that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important as far as a precedent goes, and I understand the concerns here, and I'm confident and hopeful that we can get a revised negotiation between now and either the next meeting or the meeting that followed. And I would, we have individual council members here who were active in negotiations in the past as well, and we've been successful at that. And again, I applaud the efforts that are being made on the town side. I just think it's very important, the precedent that we're setting here with this number. And with that, I would make an amendment. I would like to propose an amendment to this agenda item to be revised to making the recommendation. Mr. Callahan, is there any recommendations on how to go about a revision to this?
I think
or
probably
amendment?
motion to continue and direct the town manager or staff to renegotiate
Okay.
the agreement.
So I would like to amend this motion to continue and direct the town manager to go back and renegotiate this agreement based on the current $151,492 that's been presented, but over a 2-year period. Everyone good with that? Huh?
I think
think
he was
that's a little too
recommended that
certain.
we just recommend to go and renegotiate and not give.
Oh,
Not set
excuse
the
me, I
terms.
apologize, thank you. Making the recommendation to direct the town manager to go back and renegotiate this contract.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. To continue. Is there, now under the Finance Department, is there a motion to approve the annual licensing fee for the town's financial software suite from Government Invest, Inc. in the amount of $22,058.75?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. So from the Finance Department, this is a pretty straightforward licensing fee for the town's financial software. Anyone have any questions, comments? Anyone from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to the town solicitor, item J1. Is there a motion to approve a settlement for Jason Marino for the property located at Assessor's Plat Y1 Lot 23766 Wheatfield Cove Road?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone from the public?
Aye. No.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Is there a motion to adjourn at 9:17 PM?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Have a great evening.